So, good afternoon, everybody. I hope all of you are healthy and safe in this difficult time of COVID-19 pandemic. Uh, I take this an opportunity to urge you all to abide with the rules and regulations government have put forward, and just educate everybody else around you, and let's fight the coronavirus together and defeat this virus. So I, Dr. Sachin Kadam, Chief Technology Officer at Advanced Cells Group, will be talking in today's webinar, which is organized by Biomol, who are helping scientific community with their research requirement for consumables, chemicals, cells, and cellular products. Uh, I would like to try and shed some lights on interesting topic of stem cell therapy, myth, reality, and its future. So let's start with today's webinar. Before I start, let me remind you that every coin has two sides. Similarly, every situation has two faces, good and bad. However, before we judge and make up our mind about any particular thing or a situation, it is advisable to see both the sides and then decide on it. I'm sure every one of us have definitely come across term stem cells. We have read about these specialized cells of our body and their healing capacity. The research finding and news have given tremendous popularity to stem cells, and some evil brains have used this for their personal benefit, spoiling the stem cells reputation in market. If we see the positive and negative news in media about stem cells in developed country, the result is eye-opening. We can see that positive and negative news shares almost equal margin in these countries. Hence, today this is my sincere effort to make you aware about stem cells fact and separate them from fictions. So, what these stem cells are? Let us know what these cells are. These are specialized cells in our body which continuously divide and differentiate into many different types of cells and tissues. So when they divide, they undergo asymmetrical cell division to produce two daughter cells with different cellular fate. That means one daughter cell can give rise to a different tissue and another daughter cells can give rise to altogether different tissue. We all call these stem cells as mother cells of the body. And why? Because they have an ability to differentiate into different cell types. In human being, there are almost 200 different types of cells. And within these cells, there are about 20 different types of structures or organelles. So these stem cells can differentiate themselves into almost all of these different types of cells based on their ability to differentiation. We call it as plasticity. They can produce fat cells, bone cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, etc. So, when we are talking about 200 different types of cells in our body, are stem cells are just one type? The answer is no. Based on the source of tissue, stem cells are generally divided into embryonic stem cells, which are derived from embryos, and adult stem cells, which are from adult tissue. There is something called induced pluripotent stem cells, and now recently scientific community have identified very small stem cell like cells called Moose cells. Now let's see these types one by one. These cells are also called as iPSCs, and they are generated directly from somatic or fully differentiated cells. These stem cells are lab generated cells. What do we mean by lab generated is we take a fully differentiated cell, take an example here, a skin cell. So we have isolated a skin fibroblast which is fully differentiated. Then from these fully differentiated cells, what we do is we use a viral vector to introduce
stem cell associated gene into these cells. So once we introduce these genes into these fully differentiated cells or somatic cells, so-called, they de-differentiate into stem cell population. And once they de-differentiate into stem cell population, they start behaving more like embryonic stem cells. And hence, scientists can create a patient match embryonic stem cell line using induced pluripotent stem cells. And thus, these induced pluripotent stem cells are gaining more and more importance in stem cell industry for therapeutic purpose. Now coming to embryonic stem cells. So we all know that embryonic stem cells are derived from embryo. So at day 5 or 6, when blastocytes happen, we remove the outer cells which forms placenta and collect the inner cells which is called as inner mass or blastocysts. Then this isolated cell mass is cultured in lab using special cocktail media to get embryonic stem cells. And these stem cells are then further differentiated into required cell lineage or tissue type and used for therapeutic purpose. But human embryonic stem cell, if you see, they reach to a blastocyte stage at day 4 or 5 after fertilization. At this time, somewhere around 50 to 150 cells of inner cell mass are present inside the blastocytes. So when we have to isolate these blastocytes, we have to sacrifice the embryo. And because of this reason, embryonic stem cells are always surrounded by many ethical issues. Also, there are chances of forming teratoma when embryonic stem cells are being used for therapeutic purpose. So, embryonic stem cells use is limited for therapeutic purpose. Now coming to adult stem cells. In adult, every developed organ has its own pool of stem cells, which are undifferentiated cells. These adult stem cells generally multiply by cell division to replenish dying cell and regenerate damaged tissue. So when we talk about adult stem cells for therapy, generally we focused on bone marrow derived stem cells or fat derived stem cells. Even tissue like placenta, amnion, amniotic membrane, umbilical cord are the rich source of mesenchymal stem cells. And these umbilical cord or placenta derived stem cells are often termed as extra embryonic adult stem cells. Apart from tissue type, from where we isolate these cells, the stem cells are also categorized in different types based on their differentiation capacity. And the term used for denoting these types are totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, and unipotent. So when we are saying totipotent, that means the isolated stem cell population can give rise to any possible cell or a tissue in our body. When we say pluripotent, that means except zygote and embryo, these cells can give rise to all other types of cell lineage. Multipotent cells are those cells which generally give rise to 5 or 6 different types of cell types. And unipotent cells are those who just give single type of cells. So embryonic stem cells, if you see the graph, this graphical representation, embryonic stem cells are generally termed as totipotent stem cells. In embryonic also, the cells which are derived from zygote are totipotent. The embryonic, extra embryonic stem cells are somewhere between multipotent and pluripotent. The tissue specific adult stem cells are multipotent stem cells, and terminally differentiated cells, generally stem cells derived from blood, are unipotent stem cells. So if we have to compare embryonic and adult stem cells on their differentiation capacity, then human embryonic stem cells and induced pluripotent stem cells are, we can say, they are pluripotent stem cells, and adult stem cells are multipotent stem cells. The rate of differentiation in which high is very high in embryonic stem cells as well as in induced pluripotent stem cells compared to mesenchymal stem cells. Also, the availability and capacity to produce different types of cell is also high in case of embryonic stem cells and induced pluripotent stem cells than multipotent stem cells. Now, when I'm saying that every tissue has its own resident pool of stem cells, why these therapy and why we have to give stem cells as an external cell therapy source in case of cell therapy cases? So let's see what is the correlation between stem cell and age. So all multicellular organisms undergo decline in tissue or organ function as they age. This all we know. And attractive therapy is that the loss of stem cell number or activity over the time is the main cause of stem cell number declination. Stem cells create every cells that we have seen. The cells work at full capacity for as long as they can. Eventually, all cells lose their ability to function because of age becoming damage in some way. And hence, all these cells eventually die by a process called programmed cell death. So, if we see this particular slide, if at the age 0 to 15, if the stem cell population in our body is 100%, as we grow old, you can see that as age 60, the stem cell population deplete to almost 10%. Let's see why exactly this happens, like why this population depletes so drastically that at the age 60, we just left with 10% stem cell population. So there is something or a theory behind this aging called a telomerase theory. So when cell divide, each daughter cell ideally should get a exact number of genome or genetic copies of that of parent cells. But this is not happening. Cell does not receive complete copy of parent DNA. Every time cell divides, a portion of telomere at the end of chromosome lost, thereby shortening the telomeres, which eventually promote them to stop dividing and die. Telomeres prevent this decline in some kind of cells, including stem cells, by lengthening the telomeres. And the hope was that activating the enzyme could slow cellular aging. So people are working to slow down these shortening of telomere and restrict aging using stem cells. But this is the main reason why the population of stem cell decline over the time as we age. So when we age, the aging process is generally two types: a biological aging and physiological aging. Okay, so cellular changes slows slow cellular multiplication, decrease in rate of immune cells like T cell. Then there are some genetic factors associated with the aging, like gene associated with mechanism of apoptosis affects the individual age. There are environmental factors like stress, constant exposures of to toxins, malnutrition. These are also responsible for early aging. Unhealthy lifestyles like alcohol, smoking, lack of exercise, unhealthy food habits, these also contribute in aging. And whether it's biological aging or physiological aging, it's going to have same kind of effect in our body and eventually the stem cell population. So it's necessary that we should maintain a good, healthy lifestyle to maintain stem cell population as long as 50 to 60 years. So stem cells is very vastly studied topic across the globe. Many premier research institutions are working in different direction to study the potential of stem cells and their application in therapeutics. If we see this particular graph, the research publication in stem cell field, we can see that there is a clearly increased number of publication every year. So all these research activities are concentrated on how stem cells can be beneficial for human being, like what potential application we can think of using stem cells. So according to research studies, the stem cells can use for curing almost every sorts of a disease we have, right from baldness, blindness, deafness, cancers, then bone diseases, diabetic, some neuronal diseases, spinal cord diseases, muscular dystrophy, uh, aesthetic problems. So there are n number of diseases have showed a tremendous potential by getting cured by stem cells. But if we ask, there is a need for clinical trials. Like, although research activities are showing that stem cells can be useful for various clinical purposes, it is important to study the actual clinical effect of these stem cells before we use them. So why this clinical research is important? Because when two different individuals, when I say two different individuals, then it means that these individuals are different due to external factors like environment in they stay, or their food habits, or their living habits, lifestyle, or even their genetics, which when I say genetic, it means the DNA they share. So these factors are different for every person. The nature of disease is individual specific, and as now we know that every individual is different, there cannot be only one protocol or one therapy that will work for all individuals across the globe. Hence, every country is trying to use these stem cells to see what beneficiary effect these stem cells has on various diseases. So if we see this particular slide, we can see that there are total somewhere around 5,245 studies are ongoing across the globe to study the potential of stem cells. So of these 5,245 clinical studies, disease-wise distribution, if we see, it shows in this particular chart. Many studies are still under phase 1 and phase 2, and that means it's actually a long time to get a stem cell as approved therapy for most of the diseases. Post-clinical trial diseases related to eye, aesthetics, cosmetic, bone have approved. However, disease related to nervous system, muscular system, diabetes, etc., have reached to a final stage of approval. When I say this, remember, stem cell therapy is still an experimental therapy. It's not an approved therapy. So, since it's an experimental therapy, there has to be a proper rules and regulations one need to follow. And here, FDA plays an important role between production to therapy. So FDA, they have put forward some regulation which are generally focused on three main areas, and those are limiting the risk of transmission of communicable diseases from donor to recipient, establishing manufacturing practice that minimize the risk of contamination, requiring an appropriate demonstration of safety and effectiveness of cells and tissue that present greater risk due to processing of these cells use. So while doing this, in 1993, US FDA, they began establishing regulatory and guidance document for cellular therapy with the issuance of application of current statutory authority to human somatic cell therapy and gene therapy product, which provides biological or biologics regulatory framework for the use of human cell therapy products. To protect the public from risk associated with cell therapy and demonstrate the effectiveness of treatment, the US FDA and other professional societies like ISSCR and United States Pharmacopoeia have established guidelines for therapeutic use of these human cellular products or cells. These human cellular and tissue-based products are regulated through risk-based approach outlined predominantly in 21 CFR Part 1271. So what is this 21 CFR? So when we are talking about 21 CFR, the full form says Code of Federal Regulation titled 21, which has different part for each application. For example, part 1271 deals with autologous bone marrow stem cells. Some human cellular and tissue-based products are regulated solely under part 1271, while other human cell therapy products are regulated under both part 1271 and FDA's Federal Drug and Cosmetic Acts. So by dividing or by doing this, FDA is trying to control the stem cell therapy so that the malpractice associated with stem cells should be avoided. So in short, what FDA is trying to say is they have basically did the tiered risk-based approach for stem cell or cell-based therapy. That means lower the perceived risk, it will be less regulated. Okay, so for that, what they have said is the company manufacturing or producing these cells should be following good manufacturing practices and good tissue practices. Additionally, regulatory requirement will also depend on whether the cell product is minimally manipulated or more than minimally manipulated. So what is this minimally and more than minimally manipulated? So when we are processing stem cells, there is something called zero manipulation, where we collect the tissue and after say centrifugation or so, we inject the concentrate of these tissue back to the patient, which is a bedside procedure. A minimum manipulation where we collect the tissue, get the tissue inside the lab, we process it minimally, say some sorts of centrifugation, something like a density centrifugation, collect the rich stem cell rich part of these tissue and use them for therapeutic purpose. And maximum manipulation is when you try to manipulate these cells using vectors, you try to do some genetic manipulation, then these cells are called maximally manipulated, and then it needs to follow the FDA guideline for maximally manipulated cells, and then only the therapy is allowed in these cases. So why this FDA has come into picture? So are these stem cell drug? Because FDA you generally govern drugs. Okay, so these cell therapy products or stem cell based products are used for regenerative purposes, like a medicine to treat human disease. In each case, doctors give patients cell as a treatment rather than or in addition to conventional chemical drugs. So technically, the FDA call these stem cells as biologics, but the FDA regulates stem cell products with the goal of ensuring safety and efficacy, much the same as traditionally defined chemical drug. Hence, are stem cells drug? I would say yes, stem cells are drug. So this is about what happens in US FDA. Now we are in India. So are there any system in place to regulate these stem cell practices? So yes. So there are various government agencies are working to regulate the stem cell therapy. Governing body like Department of Biotechnology, ICMR, Central Drug Standard Controlled Organization are continuously observing the stem cell therapeutic industry and giving rules and regulations to follow these stem cell therapy. There are something called National Apex Committee for Stem Cell Research and Therapy, which governs stem cell research going on across the Indian research institutions. So when we are talking about stem cell uh, guideline or stem cell research in India or stem cell therapy in India, there are few committees which we need to know. There is something called NAC-SCRT, which is a government stem cell research committee, which governs or which uh, see the working of institutional ethical committee. And this institutional ethical committee needs to see what exactly is going on in that particular institution. Okay, so when we have to use stem cells for therapeutic purpose, we have to contact institutional ethical committee, then give them a protocol for stem cell trials, get it approved, which in turn get approved by national committee. And once it gets approved from national committee, ICMR or CDSCO gives permission for clinical trials. Once these clinical trials gives positive results, then that particular therapy for that particular disease is approved for use in general population. So development path of stem cell therapy, I think I have already discussed this, what exactly minimal manipulation or a maximum manipulation means. So if it is a minimally manipulation, you need not undergo into all regulatory hurdles. You can start using these stem cells after DCGI approval directly in clinic. If it's maximally manipulated, then you have to undergo all the rules and regulations put forward by ICMR and CDSCO, get the approval from DCGI and use these cells. So producing cells is not just one part. Like when we are talking about stem cell therapy, it also has a peculiar problem of delivery of cells, which is a very common problem. There are three stages that makes up a typical cell therapy product work. In vitro preparation, that is pre-delivery preparation, injection or delivery, subsequent retention after post-delivery. So if these three points work very well, then the cell therapy works wonder, and we are tend to get good results. So now coming to delivery, we have already seen the first part, that is production. Now coming to delivery, there is something called systemic delivery and local delivery. Systemic delivery means you inject these cells through an intravenous injection. They goes into circulation, and some cells might reach to the affected organ and start their work. Whereas in local delivery, what we do is it's a direct delivery into a affected part to replace the host tissue by mesenchymal stem cells. So anytime the local delivery is more beneficial than systemic delivery. So if we see the route of administration for local delivery, so if you have joint diseases like hip joint or knee joint, shoulder joint, elbow joint, what we do is we inject these stem cells directly into joints. In case of autoimmune diseases, it is standardized that IV or intramuscular injection are turned out to be beneficial. In case of organs like kidney diseases, liver diseases, people are infusing stem cells with IV and intramuscular. But again, if we do a local injection, that gives a added advantage. Neural or neuromuscular diseases, IV or intramuscular or intrathecal injections are turned out to be beneficial. So when we are talking about this delivery, is just one injection is okay, or do we need multiple injections? So there are some research studies published which shows that if we do a multiple dose of stem cells, it acts like a booster. So if we do say at around time span of 21 days, if we repeat the therapy, the seen effect is far better than the single dose. Hence, the multiple dose are so-called beneficiary with a greater effect to cure the disease. Now, to conclude, what we have seen so far is stem cell has a tremendous therapeutic properties. These stem cells can differentiate into various cell types and give rise to different cells, which can further be used for therapeutic approaches. When we are using stem cells, clinical research is more important. We have to see the effect clinically before we administer these stem cells as a therapeutic approach. If we see that there is a tremendous global opportunity in regenerative medicine in case of tissue repair and use of stem cell therapy. Using this stem cell platform, we can manufacture, commercialize stem cell derived products, and these products then can be used as a therapeutic mode, provided we follow all rules and regulations put forward by the government agencies, and we stop believing the evil mind or evil brain what they talk about stem cell therapy. So this is all about stem cell and stem cell therapy. This is just to give you a brief who we are. Basically, we are Advanced Cells Group, wherein we have 4 different division. I think most of you are researchers, so for you, Koshika is the most beneficiary division. Herein, what we do is we prepare primary cells and we distribute these cells for research and therapeutic purposes. So these primary cells are basically custom made. So whatever is your requirement, you can tell us that requirement. We can prepare those cell types as per the protocol you want, and we can deliver these cells for research purpose. Simultaneously, we are also working in therapeutic, wherein we use or prepare these stem cells for therapeutic use, and we supply them to hospitals, various hospitals for therapeutic use. So with this, I conclude my talk, and the talk is open for discussion. Thank you.